if you have any questions, just let me know because I can't see you guys now with the way this. I got to get a two monitor set up. But all right, so the high school nationals for Powerlifting America is scheduled for March 31st, April 2nd, 2022 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. This is the qualifier for the Junior Worlds in Romania. And I actually saw online that this city in Romania is considered the unofficial capital of Transylvania. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Selling point.
I went through some videos. It looked like the American, the YouTube travelers did some videos, and there was a couple that went through, and they were talking about it's a young town. It was a college town, a lot of restaurants and places to see, and a lot of history as well. So it was pretty neat. It was a pretty neat looking place. Speaking of history, this is our venue. This is a Radisson Hotel in Lackawanna Station. This was a working train station back in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, where from New York City through Cleveland to Chicago. So you could go through this train station. It has millions and millions of dollars in renovations since then. And it's a French design. So inside of it, you'll have like stained glass, marble, everything. It has been completely renovated into a hotel, convention center. The section where we're going to run the powerlifting event is actually the newest part of it. I would say it was built. I don't know the exact, but I think it was built in the early 2000s, adjoining the train station footprint. This is, they've done, with Scranton, it's the city, fictitious city, but real city of The Office. So there's several things around town, and this location was in one of the scenes in The Office, fictitiously, of course. But there is still working tours and locations around Scranton where you can go to different places that were featured in The Office. Even the downtown ale house is still today, every year. Well, not every year. Well, I'm not sure of every year. I'm not tied to it as much. But and it's an ale house where you could actually go in all age and eat in there as well. It's a restaurant as well. They have the Office actors come back during events and actually serve people behind the bar. So it's a pretty interesting little area. The main hotel, is right in downtown Scranton. There's a Hilton location next door that we used for the 2017 high school nationals. So between the Radisson and the Hilton, we have plenty of hotel rooms if this event grows and is big. That event, the Hilton next door, is where we had the 1,000 lifter Raw Nationals in 2015, and we also had high school nationals there in 2017. But being, we're going to be capped at 360 lifters this year. We went to a slightly smaller location, but with the capability in rooms. The local airport is very nice. For a local airport, it is very modern. It's the Scranton Wilkes-Barre International Airport. It is an 8-minute shuttle ride from the airport to the hotel. Our hotel is utilized a lot for most of the airlines use the Radisson Hotel for their pilots and their staffing of their crews. So the shuttle is quite regular. I think there's a small fee, like $5 or $8. I don't know the exact at this point. A very small fee to get from the venue to the hotel and back. And being this is a small airport, it's not like you have to get there 3.5 hours early for the location to fly in and out of there. It is pretty much, I wouldn't recommend this, but I fly out of it regularly. I get there about 25 minutes before the flight, and I get on the plane, no problem. But just to give you an idea, the prices will be a smidge higher than obviously flying to Newark or Philadelphia. Newark and Philadelphia airports are about 2 hours away. I find it friendlier to go to Philadelphia nowadays, but that's a matter of opinion. My brother likes Newark better than Philly as well. But both those locations are under 2 hours or less to get to the this venue. To go with that, the a lot of the when we ran the nationals in 2017, several of the teams, the Monday morning is cleanup time, and I went down into the lobby of the hotel in 2017, saw the people lining up for the bus, and I told them to have a safe trip home. Several of the bus folks were actually said, "Nope, we're not going back to Wisconsin today. We're going to New York City." So they spent at least a night in New York City. They took the bus ride out there, which is pretty convenient. It's actually a lot easier to take a bus than drive a car. And then they spent the day in New York City before returning home. So that is an opportunity, and we could, if there's groups that want to do that, we could help with information on that. Powerlifting America, again, the date is March 31st through April 2nd in Scranton. This will be a U.S. anti-doping agency. USADA is going to be the official doping. There will be drug testing at this event. As you may know, the Olympics, Paralympics, this is the recognized standard of drug testing for Olympic athletes, Pan American, Para-Pan American, so on and so forth. USADA is going to cover the event. We've had, Powerlifting America is pretty new as far as an organization. I know there was prior hesitation, prior issues with our predecessor associated with the IPF and USADA. We've since seemed to have a pretty good relationship with them. They have been covering us for our World Games lifters, our World Championship lifters, our nationals. USADA is taking recommendation, like they are the professionals, they do the drug testing. No longer will the referees be carrying around pee, no longer will meet directors and everything be running drug tests. It's run by the USADA group. We contract through a Canadian agency that runs it. We've had no trouble so far covering any type of doping that's needed to occur. Myself, I've been drug tested out of meet without notice twice this year in 2022. And my window, now for folks who are maybe following this or whatever, USADA, when you're part of the World Pool, World Championship stuff, this is not first day stuff. You actually, I have an app on my phone where I put my location, my whereabouts, 1 hour a day. Now, this is obviously again not for a standard meet, but people that are going to the World Championships, World Games, have to have a whereabouts on their phone, and once a day you have to give them an hour. So once a day you give them an hour of availability to be drug tested. Well, because I have a very busy schedule, my evenings are gone running my 4 kids everywhere. My availability window is between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. And both of my drug tests, the poor guy from USADA, showed up at my house at 5. It was like 5:55, and my kids are getting ready for school, and I am not awake, thankfully, at that point. And the knock right at 6 a.m. come in. You fill out the paperwork. The USADA labs are glass containers to get your kit. They do all the paperwork. There's no referee from from Powerlifting Americas. There's no there's no. I didn't know him. Basically, he's what did he say? He was a distance runner. He was a distance runner by sport, and he drove from New York and drug tested me here in Pennsylvania. So USADA is the it's part of our structure from this point forward. We're part of under the IOC, so we have to follow the same policies of all the Olympic athletes. So that's kind of where it's at. And I'm a person who's been tested twice under that, right at 6 a.m. One time I unfortunately had went to the bathroom at 5:30, so the one test went pretty long. But they'll just hang out and wait and follow their procedures. And there's nobody ducking underneath a drug test. They take all the paperwork. They do all the paperwork. They take the kit. There's no more. As a meet director, I really enjoy it because part of I've had many lose my patience because I have a truck filled with stuff. I move equipment all around Pennsylvania, running events, and I tell them where to my help. I put this stuff in the truck and things get loaded on top of it. I'm very happy to not be doing that anymore, because it's the first concern you have, is getting that doping out the very next morning, and I don't have to deal with that anymore. I can just run an event, operate event, and let the medical type things like urinalysis be handled by professionals. So, does anyone have any questions related to USADA? I know there's been a lot of stuff out there. I'll try my best to answer if you have any.
I'm pretty familiar with all of it only because of Taylor, obviously, getting drug tested all the time, and she's had similar experiences to you. I think her availability was in the morning, and they were there right away. So she, just dealing with that with her. Otherwise, I haven't been tested or anything, but so far
Yeah.
that's what I like. And I can definitely see your point on running a meet, how that's a lot easier not to worry about that. As far as the drug testing goes, coming from USA Powerlifting to this, I'm not really worried about it. The drug testing thing was never really something that I worried about too much when that was all going down. So, yeah.
It's. I mean, there's definitely a strong position about it with our predecessor, but as an athlete, as a referee, as a coach, as a meet director, I like the professionalism USADA's added to it, because it's a factor that we don't have to explain anymore. The only thing that could be questioned, and it's fair with anybody, are we testing all the right people? Which is always going to be a debate. Even in the Olympics, should he be tested? Should she be tested? When are they tested? Do they know? There's no notification on these testing. So from what I could tell, I mean, I sat there figuring, well, I'm this many weeks out, but I have no idea. And one little experience I had, the whereabouts forms every day. Well, one day I decided I kind of was flying. I fly quite a bit, and I got to the airport at like 10 o'clock at night to fly out of Philadelphia. And I sat there and I had a moment to like collect myself. And I'm like, oh no, my test window's tomorrow. Went into the whereabouts form, updated the timeline on the whereabouts form that, hey, you could test me tomorrow, but I will be at this address tomorrow. And that's totally fine. Until they come and get you, come to your window, as long as you change it before there's certain rules around it, but I changed my window to the next week. Now I found out 2 weeks or a week later that the doping guy had already went to sleep and was coming to my house that next morning. So he wakes up at, I don't know what time, he woke up at like 3 a.m. I would assume. And he's like, then I had to go back to sleep. Because he said he got showered, got dressed, and then he got a notification that I was now in Orlando. So it's a very real deal, and I apologize to him for it, because I should have done it a few days out. But the reality is, I wasn't in trouble for it. It was part of the process. It was I made the update prior to the actual day of the test, and they just had to adjust. I mean, they could have came to me in Orlando and gave it to a USADA agent down there, but they just held off another, I think it was like 4 or 5 days, and then came by. So that's an example. We've had no issue. Now, is USADA way more expensive for the organization? It absolutely is, because you're paying professionals to do it, and that's going to be the reality.
When I was in high school nationals, this past year for USA Powerlifting, the individuals that they had doing some of their testing, the one guy spilt some stuff and it was a mess. They were not professional, and so that's definitely a good thing. And then as far as like the pool goes, so when we had previous meetings where we were talking with Mike and Keller, they also said that they're pre-selecting, or they're trying to figure out which lifters they're going to test ahead of time based on some of the results and numbers, which makes complete sense to me. I mean, I've had JV lifters that placed 10th at high school nationals get drug tested, and part of me is like, why are we wasting a drug test on these kids? I mean, let's
Yeah.
let's drug test the pool of kids that are going to be in contention for first or third, things like that, or if their numbers are big. Those are the kids that need to be tested because those are the ones you don't want to get through.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things we had early on, the conversation early on was USADA will not take your feedback. That has not been our experience so far. USADA has definitely been taking our feedback. Um, so it's just been it's been able to do it. Has anyone else? Hold on, let me make sure there's no one waiting to get in here.
Okay.
Let me see. Oh, that's my problem. Sorry. That's when I have to have two monitors
Yeah.
because I just had a call come in. Hold on. Let me. Uh, there was coaches who have my phone number calling in. Let me text them to try again. And maybe I should just share slightly different. Uh, Wish I could pause this recording, but let me.
I'm sure you're better with this stuff than I am. So, wish I could help you. Even I don't know what the hell's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I don't. I thought it would pop up on my screen, but apparently once I started sharing. Hey guys. Sorry. Hey Claude.
I just got
So
on, Steve. I'm on a
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
Somebody
No
else.
worries. No worries. I was recording, so I couldn't answer the phone, but I saw it coming in. So, all right, I was doing a presentation, and I'll listen if there's any more things. So we were just going through USADA and where we are. So I'll go to the next slide here. Uh, all right. So competition platform is going to be Eleco. It's going to be one or many platforms depending on the turnout. Eleco is going to be the bar, the rack, the weights. The platform is going to be all sponsored by Eleco, and that will be true for all national championship events run by Powerlifting America in 2023. The proposed schedule. Now, this is the proposal based on what we know right now, and let me just start the discussion with the way as a director I've always liked to run these events is I like to front load the weekend, and what I mean by front load the weekend is Sunday is a very difficult day to staff. Sunday is a very difficult day to do a lot of lifters because the weights get heavier as well. So my scheduling is usually I try to make Saturday the heaviest day of my heaviest. I mean the quantity of lifters, and Friday the second and third be Sunday. So I've currently scheduled all junior varsity athletes to be Friday the March 31st, and then varsity lightweight female and varsity lightweight male to be also March 31st. Now, this is subject to change if there's some drastic spike in numbers. I've looked at the last 5 years, try to stabilize it, and the plan would be, if everything goes to plan, that Sunday, April 2nd would be the lightest of quantity of lifters, but obviously the heaviest of weights, and that'll allow us to no, not have to, struggle with running it fast and focusing on the heavier weights, so to keep everyone safe as possible. Any so this is the proposed schedule. We'll probably have I'll set a date for a final schedule, so everybody could hone in on their travel plans. I will, like, 99% chance not change this unless something drastically comes up. So coaches can plan for this to be the schedule, and I will communicate it early and loudly if anything changes with this plan. Um, it's very difficult right now with our transition with Powerlifting America to put a pin in it. It was always historically a little bit difficult to figure out the schedule to a perfect sense. So there's always a little bit of fluidity in it. So I just keep that in mind. But again, if something comes up, I will try to communicate as loudly and as clearly to everyone as possible that the schedule is changing or potentially changing even. But at this point, I would avoid. I mean, I have not moved, and I've been running events since 1998. I have not moved lifters from one day to the other day, not one time. So
Yeah, that's
I
good.
will, that is an extreme situation to do that. I would sooner, get more. I would improvise. I don't know what to say. I would avoid it at all costs to move lifters from one day to the next, because that would greatly impact us. The closest I came to it was in the 2015 Raw Nationals, where we went from 589 lifters the year before to 1,000 that year. Uh, and that year, we did not change lifters across days. I ended up running 4 platforms, but we survived, and people didn't have to redo their travel schedules. So that would be the process, and I would try like heck not to ever move this schedule and mess up people's travel plans.
Hey, Steve, will you have will you guys be around Thursday evening to do like coaches check-in and all that kind of stuff?
Yes,
And do you have a it would be like in the evening, or would it be all day on Thursday, or
it'd likely be evening after. It'd probably be a 5 o'clock, like a 5 to 10 type deal.
okay, that makes
Uh,
sense.
and we probably would have. And obviously, there'll be a scale set up the night before in the venue, and it'll be left out all night, at least one. And preferably, not preferably, I will not be using an alternate scale. If there's a scale set up the night before, it will be the competition scale, because it makes no sense to put out a scale that isn't the competition scale.
Yeah,
So
or a scale that's not calibrated or checked. Yeah.
correct. So there will be a scale the night before each event. It will likely be in the weigh-in room we'll use the next day, and it will be the competition scale.
All right.
I do not like the situation where you have a scale that might or might not be right. So it'll at least be accurate to whatever is. Obviously, there'll be multiple scales. So when you check your weight, you should check the weight on the scale you are planned to weigh in on. If we have 2 platforms, there'll be a platform 1 scale and there'll be a platform 2 scale. We will do that to expedite the lifters through the process. So they'll all be calibrated, but you can't, you get a calibration. I've had scales calibrated where, it's off by like a gram or so, like, I don't know, it's very difficult to make the scale calibration company come back after they already came. So, that's where I can't really, it's hard to have I don't know what to say at that point. I'm at the venue, the scale's off by a gram or two, and they're getting a point whatever difference. It's just check your weight on the scale you're going to be using, and then you'll be safe.
Steve, just one real quick question. Maybe I missed it. So it's going to be 2 platforms, and right now you probably don't know how many sessions a day, right?
Yeah, so it's two. The plan is right now 2 platforms, 3 days, and absolutely no plan right now. Obviously, standard design would be 2 sessions a day.
All right.
But if we've got a bubble to overcome on Saturday or Friday, we'll potentially have a third session. Obviously, that's a grind for everybody. But the alternative is, longer days or more chaos. That's where you kind of have to weigh which one's worth it. So, I mean, the venue I'd like to keep at a 2 platform setup to keep it more manageable for the staffing, the coaches, etc., so that we can run the event without the chaos of a 4 to 5 platform event.
Yeah, I'm definitely over. I'm definitely having more quality, and I'll stay a little later at night if that means better quality. So I agree
Yeah,
with that for sure.
it's difficult because I'm part of the, I won't say part of the problem, but the reality is, and what I've observed since I moved to Powerlifting America, albeit we're starting from the ground up, the relationships we're building is kind of brings me back to the early 2000s, late 90s, where you're actually able to like talk to coaches, talk to lifters, not have to push people through like a cattle call. And I don't, I'm not saying we need to stay small forever, but I'm just saying there's something to the whole relationship you get with an event that has 900 lifters versus a relationship you get with 150 or 200 lifters. So it's in some ways it's brought me back to where I started running events, and just being able to actually take a breath. A lifter has a legit concern, or they've got a question. You could actually take a minute or 30 seconds, where when you have a onslaught of people waiting for you to respond to their questions, it makes it a lot more difficult as a director, as a coach. I'm sure coaches who have 10 lifters on their team versus 50 lifters on their teams get a lot better relationship with their lifters, and that's the way I've been feeling with our events. It's just we've been able to, like, see the lifts and not have our heads cut off, running around with our heads cut off a little bit. So from that perspective, Powerlifting America has really brought me back in time, and it's made it kind of nicer. Now it's tough to do all the fancy LED boards and all the high end things. We are, fortunately, as a director of some big events, I've got the towers and the technology around the live streaming and the experience, which experience weighs the materials, because you could have all the materials and not have the experience and not have a very good live stream. And we, I have a heavy technology thing. I'm an IT guy. I'm an EDI analyst by trade. That's my real work, my real life. So I do bring that to the events. But you just, putting $20,000, $30,000 into LED boards for an event for one weekend is a tough budgetary thing to do with the smaller events. So we will not have crazy high-end LED boards across the entire ballroom. Unfortunately, I know that's enjoyed, but also that is not, going to change the quality of the operation of the event. To take that away, it does take away some of the flash, but it doesn't take away the quality of the lifting, the standards of the lifting, making sure you have all the information you need. Because sometimes there's investment in that technology, and you lose some of the expertise on the scoring side. You lose some experience on some of the smaller things that kind of fall through the cracks, because they're pretty basic things, but they just need people to work on them, or need some focus. And sometimes when you get to those big events with the flashy, very expensive LED boards, sometimes I'm not saying all, but sometimes that is put as a priority above other things, like the monitors in the back room and different things like that. So that our focus will be running a high quality meet and doing and using all the technology we have, but there will be less LED involvement in this year's high school nationals. All right. So dates. Registration opened yesterday, and we do already have a handful of entries coming in. There's tiers of registration. So between now and December 31st, today is October 2nd when we're filming this, till December 31st, the entry will be at $120. That will include your event lifters t-shirt. Starting January 1st through February 28th, the entry goes up to $140, still including shirt. Same with the late registration of $180. No entries accepted after March 18th. Will be limited to the first 360 lifters. So that'll probably be, the reality is March 18th will probably be closed by March 18th. So I wouldn't, being we're limited to 360 athletes, lifters can qualify, and lifters can enter the event ahead of the qualifying. They just have to note it in the qualifying number on the entry. But if you do not make the qualifying total, there will be no refunds. Each registered team will get, and this is a registered team, and the registration team hasn't opened yet for Powerlifting Americas. But if you have a registered team and register your team with the event, every team will get 2 coaches passes. And what this means, if you've got a male raw team, that's 2 coaches passes. Good for all sessions. If you've got a male and a female raw team. That's 4 coaches passes. Equipped, 2 more. Equipped raw, so potentially you could have 8 coaches passes good for the whole weekend if you have registered in for all 4 teams.
When you so it's capped at 360. Are you using lifting cast for this so that we
Yes.
can track the total number of lifters?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, for the registration process, no.
Okay.
For the register, no, I don't do that because lifting cast doesn't allow, because of COVID and because of everything. I run many events, right? And I use discount codes and coupon codes and stuff like that. Right now, there's none in the system, and there's none for this event so far. But let's say someone had a credit from a prior year. Lifting cast doesn't allow us to do that.
Okay.
So I always use Jotform because of that, to overcome the allowing people to enter but give them the discount or the rain check they've earned. So it goes through Jotform, and I haven't set it up yet. There will be probably in the next week. I will have a live updating Excel link, Google Doc, that will have a live version of the lifters. I say it's live, but Google has a little bit of a delay if it gets really big. So it'll probably be like, if you enter someone right this minute, it'll probably be like 3 minutes until it shows. But it'll be a lot. It just takes a few, because there's some macros on the backside that I have to do to add. I'm going to add the session, add the everything, all the different things. So, but about 3 minutes or so from when you process the team to get the lifters on that Google Doc live.
I'm about to. Okay.
Okay. So qualifying. Sorry, is there a question before I go on?
Nope, that's just, but basically, I guess, I'm tossing around the idea of, in Wisconsin, we have been allowed to use our state meet, and there's a list of qualifying totals that we can use.
Right.
But with it being capped, obviously, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe talking to, or trying to maybe see if I can actually get a Powerlifting America meet for people interested in Wisconsin, maybe mid-January. Just trying to take. So I don't know. We'll see.
Here's something that might change your planning.
Okay.
Qualifying events. Okay, so January 1st, 2022 through March 19th, 2023. Any event after that will not be considered. That's 2 weeks before the event. So it's a pretty good area of bandwidth. Any Powerlifting America event obviously is good.
Yeah.
We are allowing non-Powerlifting America events to be qualifiers.
But only the state championships, correct?
Right.
Right. So I'm actually thinking about getting a Powerlifting America membership and actually seeing if they will let me put a meet on the schedule.
Right.
January 2023 sometime. So
let me make sure no one's waiting. Hold on 1 second. All right, we're good. All right. Yeah.
Steve,
that would be good.
Steve, question for you. In Louisiana, our regional meet is in February. Our state meet is not until the end of March.
Yeah. I mean, I'm open to consideration if you want to let the regionals be a qualifier too.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's sanctioned through our high school athletic association. So.
Reality is, if it's under the. Here's what I want. I don't want it to be the first year quickie. I want it to be a garbage meet, basically, right?
No, actually, our regional is competitive. So.
Right. Yeah. So if it's a and we're going to deal this situation by situation, but email me the email's in here, and I'll put it in the pitch, steve@purepowerlifting.com. And then I could add it to the list of allowable events, and the same goes for Wisconsin as well.
I thought, and I thought in previous conversations we've had with Powerlifting America that they're already going to plan on using that regional meet for Louisiana already as that qualifying because of the scheduling.
Right, right. Yeah. So if we could, guys, can we send me an email with the explicit meet titles, and then I'll put it to this qualifying sheet, and then I won't forget it. So
Yeah.
yeah, really we want it to be established meets. If it's not a Powerlifting America event, to be an established yearly event, so that we can look at it as the credibility of the event, and add it as an acceptable thing. So
Yeah, I mean, our regional meet is annual because it's how we qualify for the championship.
right.
Another question, real quick. What is the chance that the cap moves higher than 360?
Not likely.
Okay.
Not likely because it changes the whole logistics of the event. And I'm kind of in the keep it simple, stupid approach. Just because when you start chasing a moving target, that it makes it more complicated to run, because then you have to add another competition platform, you have to add multiple sessions, you have to add more staffing. Um, I would rather it be a solid 360 than a shaky 420.
Yeah.
So I'm planning around 360, and that's really where I want to keep it, because the logistics of going higher than that from a venue perspective and a staffing perspective, I just want to keep it at 360. Now I realize this is probably going to drive coaches to get in their stuff sooner. I hope if they're definitively wanting to come to the event, I would recommend that, just because of the cap. But yeah, so I really don't want to move that. I've done the moving target events before, and it's ends up you add an additional session, you add a different platform, whatever you do, and you end up chasing your tail for the last month of the event, just trying to catch up to where you end up regretting it, because you don't really end up getting the lifters you anticipate. So or it just becomes more difficult to staff it. So I really my plan is 99.9%. I'm staying at 360.
A quick question for you. Just to point something out, I think there might probably a mistake in the qualifying total for the 105 kilo weight class for JV. It's 365. I mean, that jumps way up. I think maybe that should be 5.
Is that the one you talked to me about a while ago?
I think so. I mean,
I already changed that.
okay, maybe I just have an old copy
Yeah.
here, and so
Yeah,
and then
there,
one other question: if there's somebody, let me put it this way, in the 110 kilo weight class at 242 that only weighed in at 227, could they qualify for the 105 weight class, which is 230, even though they were in the 242, but their body weight is less? I mean, I have kids that are.
yeah, I mean, we'll deal with those situations. I'm not going to say hard yes or no on that, Claude, but it's difficult here, because here's what we try to do, right? We try to we're going to be putting together, and with 360, it's going to be a little bit easier to deal with those one-off situations. I mean, if it doesn't give the lifter but you're saying if it doesn't give the lifter a competitive advantage, we will definitely take a look at it.
All right.
I mean, that's the reality of a smaller event. You don't have to create every. I mean, the baseline is we'll do it on a situation, but if the lifter is over the weight class he's trying to make, then no.
Oh
But
no.
if yeah,
Yeah,
so
they weighed in less than the weight class they're trying to
okay,
make.
then there's no. Yeah,
That,
and they made the total.
yeah.
Yeah, as long as there's no competitive advantage,
Right.
then
Okay.
I will have no problem with the consideration. I hope everybody's okay with that. I mean, because we're trying to align, we're trying to put a square in a circle or a circle in a square here, right? With allowing non-Power America's weight classes as part of the QT.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some gray area where a lifter is in the 242 but makes the weight for the 105 and weighs under 105 when they do the qualifying. I'm okay with that, as long as it doesn't give the lifter a competitive advantage, and that's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to.
All right. And then one other thing, as you know, PSCPA, we all use the lock jaws or plastic collars that weigh a pound, but we don't record them in the. So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
everybody's actually doing a pound more than what it's recorded because we don't count.
Yep. Yeah, I don't count that in my training either. All right. So again, this is going to be a qualifier for IPF Sub Junior Worlds, which is in August 2023. It's the end of August into September in Romania, and there was, quite a great turnout for this last year in Turkey. The world team, and check it out on Instagram, did very well. So we're very proud of our world team lifters, and we're hoping to continue our success. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump to our registration form. It went live yesterday, but I want to show. Hold on, let me go to the. So if you go to High School Nationals website, the entry's live right there. I probably need to word that a little better. So I wanted to go through this a little bit to kind of show some of the functionality here. Because of my past experience with high school nationals and collegiate nationals, which I've both run both of them in larger events, one of the complaints that has come up historically is coaches want to enter their kids in a group for purposes of billing at the school, for purposes to just they don't trust their kids to put their entry in, right? So, and they have the control, right? So this is the first time I've done this, and it's taking an embarrassingly long time to create, and I'm hoping we can use it again because it took so long. So basically, this entry form, this JOT form, allows you to enter up 1 to 20 lifters in one entry. So I want to walk through how the heck that works. So the baseline information, this is all stuff we've gone through already, right? Let me make this a little bigger. So the first section here is asking for high school name, zip, and lifters to register. And by default, it's set at 1 right now. So you're going to put your name in, your zip code. And this is just because some schools are the same name. So that does occur. And right now, you have the ability to select 1. And right now, 1 is by default. So if you look at it without going too far, all you see is 1 lifter in here, right?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I want to do, call out, double X and triple X are a couple of extra bucks if everything else is free with entry, because I have to pay more. So you have the state, the membership. So this is the base entry form when you come in here. I am going to add a merch section here, but I didn't get the mock-ups done by the site. I do have a lot of cool graphics, hoodies, and a bunch of stuff that should be on the site next week. It's actually already set up under the covers here, but I didn't get any good pictures from the graphics company, so I didn't put it in here. Coach's name. Now, optional, this is something I've added since COVID, and it wasn't because of COVID, but it's just a complaint. I always get complaints. Your music stinks at the meets, that sort of fun stuff that you love to get after you run a great meet. I wish your music was better. It's like, all right, thanks. So every lifter, every entry, I should say, every entry allows the lifter to enter the songs they want, 3 of them. I know this is silly, and for my generation, we don't give 2 craps about this, but this has been very popular. And obviously, any explicit content, I ignore those. I create a playlist. I've actually, the last 3 meets, I have a Spotify playlist for the event we ran, and I took out all the explicit ones. And when grandma's in the room and some song comes on that she hates, I just blame the lifters because they picked the music. So it's helped me not have to take the blame for the playlist. So silly, yes, I know, but it allows ability for the lifter to be involved with some of what goes on in the event and gives them the capability. And I offer that for all my events now. It makes my life easier because I could just blame someone else for the music. Qualifying event, we went through the information on this. We'll add to it if we get to it. You're going to just select the event. Now you'll see in here, there's different organizations or other. So that's part of the entry form, just so we could track down. We plan on pulling in the data and being able to confirm it. Hopefully people don't put things behind a firewall, but we'll see. the event name, the date, the link to the results. If you got the link to the results, put it in here, and the weight. Now, this weight is optional because we kind of don't believe what we get in this field, sort of, kind of. We'll bounce against the results in the official results and compare it to the qualifying totals. But I put it in here just for updating. But the reality is, if you're putting in a team, this won't mean anything because I have just one section for qualifying. So if you're putting in a team, we're just going to have one set of qualifying. I assume you're getting your kids qualified at the same event. So mobile phone provider. Now I'm going to give you awareness here. The reason why I do this, and just to be transparent, if and when some emergency occurs or some situation, some room gets locked, the scale, something happens, I will have the ability on site the weekend of the event to send all the coaches a text message of that change with this information. So by giving me this information, just be aware, I'm not going to spam you. But if something occurs, a door gets locked, we have to push a session out an hour, right? We will be able to text everybody instead of doing email or alerts, because you all got your phones on you, and we should be able to communicate out that change or that issue or what happened, right? So that's kind of why I asked for that.
Hey,
All
Steve,
right,
a quick
so
question if you got a chance. Just
yeah,
so we don't get too far. So you said that if you go back up per event, so when you select the event that they qualify at, you just said that you're assuming all of the lifters qualify at the same event. So what if,
yeah, if you have different people with different events, just have them do their entry by themselves.
or if because I'm going to only have possibly up to 2 events. So
You
if
could
I
put
still wanted to do,
both events in here.
huh?
You can put 2 links in here if you want.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. So put the one event, the main event, or whatever. If you have 2 results, to just say 2 results and put the link in here.
Okay.
So we have an easier way to go get it.
Yep, that's fine. I just didn't know if we had to do two
No,
entries per event
no,
with
no.
like,
I mean, you
okay.
don't have to. I mean, if you want to break it out into 2 groups, you can. And let me go back up to how we do that. Okay, so right now, so far, I've been just showing you one entry, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you have 10 lifters. You come in here, you select 10. Now it takes a second for these macros to work, but now what you'll have is you'll now have 10 lifter capability in this entry form. And it's still one submit.
Okay.
So there's a lot of conditions in here. So if you find like something goofy, I've tested it as much as I can. But basically, and then other things that happen in here, like you come in here and you say, okay, it's a female class. So then down here, the weight classes for the females come up. If you go down and you see the weight classes are female and you want a male, that means you might have selected the wrong thing. You click male, look at your weight class. Now you'll see male weight classes. All right. So it's supposedly a smart, but it's only as smart as me. So I'm sorry if it's wrong.
Well, if this works good, I mean, I appreciate the work you're putting in because this is going to be very helpful for us for sure.
I hope so. And then at the end, the big thing here is, well, not all of this is important, but there's 2 ways to pay now, right? So you have the ability to do credit card. The credit card will, because now notice I did the credit card on 10 lifters, and then this is the fee, right? Based on $120, and then I am tacking on the transaction fee since it is significant when you do big groups, right? So if you do manage thing at credit card level, there is a 2.9% transaction fee, and that is, slightly less than what I actually get charged, but I couldn't do the math on the way they do like a percentage plus a transaction amount. Like I just did a percentage of 2.9, right? But let's say you don't want to do credit card and you want to submit this to your school as an invoice. You just select that check by invoice, right? And what this gives you the ability, and it's not instantaneous. I'm working on a way to do it quicker. But basically, what I will then do once I get an entry like this, the next day I will send whomever an email with a PDF invoice that could be submitted to the school.
Awesome.
So it gives you the capability, depending on the finances, and I'm hoping I got all the elements. I mean, some of it is I have to, some of the school requires us 1099, that sort of thing. So I don't want to automate, like I'm not going to send out my 1099 automatically to people because that's has my that's my business information. So I want to make sure it's correct. I'll put the PDF together and send that across, and then hopefully it has all the elements that your accounting at your school needs to submit that invoice for payment. Again, I'm going to have conditions in the invoice to pay it by a certain date, obviously, and this check by invoice will need to be done. I can't be doing this in April or May. So this process is going to have a cutoff on it, probably March the 1st, because I can't go start the meet, have 20 lifters potentially with a team where I still don't have their entry money yet. I can't do that. And I can't do that because you're like, oh, it never happens. Well, Glen Mills happened. So
Yeah.
we're not doing that because Glen Mills went to a couple events leading up to the end of Glen Mills, and those meet directors didn't get paid. So you like to say it never happens, but Enron never happens, right? So we have a cutoff date. We'll have a cutoff date where obviously the funds will be due before the contest starts. So this check by invoice will be something that will be off in March. I'll probably cut it off at the end of April or at the end of March, or sorry, the end of February. I don't know if this is a leap year, but basically you can't do check by invoice after February 28th or something to that effect, so that the payment will be received prior to the meet starting.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
So in Louisiana, we cannot compete in any non-LHSA meets under our high school name. So you won't see, like I coach
Okay.
you won't see anything that says North Shore High School from us.
Okay. So I would just. Okay. So how do you normally handle that from a results perspective? Do you not register the team then, or not at all?
So no, we register a team, but we registered under a club name.
Okay, that's fine.
It just usually is the mascot or something, like we might use school's address in a club, something like that.
Yeah, just let me know if there's certain rules and things you want to do around it. I mean, I had to do situations like that during COVID.
Yeah.
What I call the COVID collegiates. COVID collegiates, the kids paid for their entry,
Right.
wanted to lift in the meet, but the university said they couldn't leave campus.
Yeah.
And I was not, and I had a lot of fun discussions with athletic directors and activities directors that asking them if it's really if they have the ability to imprison their students, because that's basically what they were doing by saying you can't leave campus, or they not only said that they're off the club, they're like out of school. Like they were in my opinion overstepping their bounds as athletic directors. Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. So if there's some situation where that because of the policies of the school you need to do a certain way, that's fine. Just give me a heads up on it. If I need a heads up, let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you know. That way you're not confused when you see some like what school is it.
And that's probably where the zip code helps too, because I could just put the zip in there, because the 2017 I had some identical school names and non-identical schools, so that's lesson learned from prior events.
We're gonna try to come up with something creative to where it's
yeah,
a cool name.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. Okay, is there that was the scope of our discussion today. I do plan on having more calls if necessary, and basically being able to communicate things. Now, other things that are being in the works, right? So 2017 Nationals, I'm not saying 100% everything's going to happen, but I did like a varsity pin for Letterman jackets. All the lifters got those in the 2017 Nationals. It's like a nice pin that can go into their, if they have a Letterman jacket or bag or whatever they use at their school. So that's planned. You know, I'm not committing to it, but that would be what I would do. Every lifter at registration would get that pin as part of checking in. Obviously, we'll get lanyards with the kilo charts on the back. That sort of thing is kind of standard now at the national events. And again, we'll have a bunch of merchandise. The platform, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with my standard platform. I think I was one of the first. I do a trussing system where I have multiple TVs on the front that give an exact image on the back of the platform. And then on the back of the platform, what we've been doing recently, there's a gigantic, like 6 foot high kilo chart on the back banner, and the rules for DQ. So you'll have a lifter sitting in the back, and there'll be a TV with the bar load on it from the front, and the scoreboard, and you obviously be on LiftyCast, will be on your phone. And it has the referee lights on the right side, even on the back side of it, right? If there's a red, a yellow, or blue, the rules for disqualification with the rule book will be 6 foot high, or maybe taller than that, at least 6 foot high rule book explanation. So when a lifter sees a blue on a bench, he'll know what it is. He'll see a yellow, and it's kind of helpful in the events. You have a gigantic kilo chart, kind of gigantic rules thing sitting right on the back, looking at you. Yes, we're not going to have the LEDs, but I like the ability for the front and the back of the platform to give all the information you need to help in the event. And again, we'll be using, the plan right now is to be using LiftingCast, so you'll be able to pull it up on your phone. We will be doing a live stream right now. The plan would likely be 2 streams running, one for each platform. And we'll have multiple cameras for both platforms as well, with some commentary. So we will keep that in play. That will be part of our setup. And I think it's going to be a great event, and I'm hoping to get as many people out to qualify for Junior Worlds and to be at the first Powerlifting America High School Nationals.
Steve, just so people know that probably aren't from the area, because you know I am. There's things for kids to do. You got Steamtown National Train Park,
Yep.
which is free admission. You have the aquarium. You have a mall. So there's things in walking distance that they can do if they're staying at hotels.
Yeah. So the Steamtown Mall downtown has facilities, as Claude said. We have the mall right in the downtown area, and this is walking distance from the venue. So this is like right around the corner. There's lots of restaurants downtown. It is a very safe area to go. There's an aquarium right inside this mall, and as Claude said, the Steamtown train station is right there. If you want to go a couple miles from the venue, you could actually go down into a working coal mine, which I would definitely wear a hoodie or sweatshirt, because it's actually pretty chilly at the bottom of the coal mine. But yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of restaurants downtown in walking distance. You're not gonna have to bus the kids to go get food. I mean, you could go if you wanted to do like a nicer, like out of town and not be right next to the venue for a break. About 6 miles up the road is a movie theaters and another mall, and your Texas Roadhouse and all those type of restaurants are in that section as well. So that's only, I'd say it's about 6-minute drive. And when I say 6 miles, it's 6 minutes, because it's not a gigantic like location where you are gridlocked in traffic or have problems getting places. And again, you can go downtown and go to Cooper's and a few other places that are featured on The Office. Those are a little bit of a walk. They're possible walk, but it probably more likely a drive, because it's about a mile from the venue.
Hey, Steve, do you have a company that is producing those pins for you already?
I do not.
Okay. I know I may get the information from John Burford. He got some pins made for Turkey this year for the team. I don't remember what exactly was on them, but I can get that information and I could send it over to you.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, those are just really nice. I saw them for years afterwards. The kids had the pins, and just pretty cool. So
Yeah, I mean, and especially, you're doing something a lot of people don't do, going to nationals and worlds like that.
yep, yep.
This is more of a Powerlifting America question, possibly, but memberships bought in November and December of this year are good for the following year, correct?
October 1st on.
Oh, October 1st on.
Yep.
So
Okay.
That's why I waited till yesterday to open the registration. Anybody registering
Right.
today
Okay.
or yeah, it's a
Awesome.
15-month membership.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, at this point in time, I'm hoping to be bringing at least 10 or more. So somewhere between 10 and 15.
Awesome.
I have I actually have a varsity girls team that is hoping to maybe move on to IPF events. So we'll see what happens. But our team, I think, in like the big scope of things, my team of 40 is going to be possibly split. For the kids that actually want to go on to IPF and the kids that don't, they might go down to Myrtle Beach for USA Powerlifting. We'll see. But at least I'm going to have a good group come to nationals. If I have a group of 10 to 15, that's usually the most that I get on a normal year to nationals anyway. So,
Okay.
can't complain with that. So,
I guess I should have asked this prior, but do you guys have problems with me posting the video from this event or from this meeting?
no,
Fine with me.
Okay.
nope. That's no secret that I've even though I'm on the WISPA board and everything, and we're doing USA Powerlifting there, it's no secret. I've told everybody that I'm probably doing this anyway. I'm not too worried about it.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But thanks
Yeah,
for
I just
asking.
want to. Yeah, I mean, I would re-record it if it was a problem. So, or cut out the sections. Okay.
Well, if they
All right.
have a problem with that kind of stuff, that's their problem. So.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any other
They,
items to bring up?
I'm sure you're gonna have a date where if a kid's gonna move up or down in a weight class that they can readjust it.
Yeah, I've got to put those dates down. I don't have all the dates worked out. Obviously, it'll probably be in March.
All right.
It'd probably be like 18th or 19th or so. I would say
Okay.
a couple weeks out, so I could get the flights done and the cards printed and sorted and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
It wasn't in there.
All right. Well, thank you guys for everybody for joining. We will talk again soon. I'll schedule some more time. Have a great Sunday and take care.
All right. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Steve. Thank you. Have a good one.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.